She claimed I was controlling for setting financial limits. I didn't debate or defend. I simply stopped funding shared expenses, focused on stability, and watched the story change when responsibility replaced easy access. You're being controlling, and honestly, it's suffocating. The words hung between us like smoke in a closed room. I looked up from my laptop where I'd been reviewing our shared budget spreadsheet, the one I'd maintained for the past 3 years. My girlfriend of 4 years, sitting across from me at our dining table, had her arms crossed and her jaw set in that way that told me this wasn't a passing comment. This was a statement. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. I'm 31. She's 29. We'd been living together for 2 years in a decent apartment in the city, splitting costs in what I'd always believed was a fair arrangement. Controlling, I repeated, keeping my voice level. What exactly am I controlling? This? She gestured at my laptop with disgust. This constant monitoring of every dollar. I can't buy anything without you making comments about budgets and savings goals and financial responsibility. I closed the laptop slowly. I made a comment yesterday about the $200 shoes. See? Exactly that. It's my money. I can spend it how I want. Something in my chest tightened, but I kept my expression neutral. You're right, I said quietly. It is your money. She blinked, clearly expecting more of a fight. What? Your money. You can spend it however you want. I'm not going to comment on it anymore. Her expression shifted to confusion, then something that might have been suspicion. Okay, good. I'll also stop covering the portions of shared expenses that you've been short on for the past 8 months. The color drained from her face. What are you talking about? I reopened my laptop and turned it toward her. The spreadsheet showed every shared expense, every payment, every month for the past 2 years. My contributions were in green. Hers were in blue. The red highlighted cells showed where she'd come up short, and I'd covered the difference. There were a lot of red cells in the past 8 months. You've been short on rent twice, utilities 4 times, and groceries virtually every month since January. I've been covering it without saying anything because I didn't want to make you feel bad. That stops now. She stared at the screen, her mouth opening and closing. I didn't realize it was that much. $4,732. The number landed like a physical weight. I'll pay you back, she said quickly. I don't want you to pay me back. That money's gone. I'm just telling you that moving forward, I'll pay exactly my half of our shared expenses. Nothing more, nothing less. What you do with your income is entirely your business. I stood up and closed my laptop. I'm going for a walk. I left her sitting there, and for the first time in months, I felt something like clarity. The next morning, she was already awake when I got up, which was unusual. She was a night person who usually slept until I was halfway through my work-from-home morning routine. We need to talk, she said. I poured my coffee and sat down. I'm listening. I think you're being petty about this. We're supposed to be partners. Partners help each other out. I agree. I've been helping. A lot. Nearly $5,000 worth over 8 months. But you call me controlling for even mentioning your spending habits, so I'm stepping back. That's not what I meant, and you know it. I took a sip of coffee. Then what did you mean? She hesitated, and I could see her trying to find the right words. I meant that you're always acting like you're my father or something, judging my choices. I never judged your choices. I questioned whether we could afford them as a couple. There's a difference. It doesn't feel different. Okay, so now I won't question anything. Your money is yours, my money is mine, and we split shared costs 50-50. Her face tightened. Most couples don't operate like roommates. Most couples don't call each other controlling for basic financial discussions. She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Fine, if that's how you want it. It's not about what I want. It's about respecting your autonomy like you asked. She left for work without another word. I sat there in the quiet apartment, wondering how we'd gotten here. The thing is, I'd seen this pattern before. Not with her, but with my parents. My dad had been the breadwinner. My mom stayed home with us kids until we were in school, then worked part-time. Dad controlled every dollar, questioned every purchase, made my mom justify buying groceries. I'd watched her shrink over the years, watched her lose her confidence, watched her become someone who asked permission to exist in her own life. I'd promised myself I'd never be that person. When my girlfriend and I first moved in together, I'd suggested we split everything proportionally based on income. I made about 60% of our combined income at the time, so I'd offered to pay 60% of shared costs. She'd refused, said she wanted to contribute equally, didn't want to feel dependent. I'd respected that. We'd split everything 50-50. For the first year and a half, it worked perfectly. She was a graphic designer, freelance, with variable income but generally stable. I was a software developer, salaried, predictable. We'd both put money into a shared account for rent, utilities, and groceries. Our personal expenses came from our individual accounts. Simple, clean, fair. Then about a year ago, her income started getting less predictable. She landed a few big clients, started buying nicer clothes, nicer equipment, talking about upgrading her portfolio. Nothing wrong with that. But she also started coming up short on the shared account. At first, it was small amounts. $50 here, $100 there. I'd transfer the difference without mentioning it. She was investing in her career, I told myself. That's what partners do, they support each other. But it kept happening, and her spending kept increasing. Designer bags, expensive dinners with friends, weekend trips. Still, I said nothing. Until last month, when she came home with those shoes. $200 for a single pair of shoes when she'd been $150 short on her half of utilities. I made a simple comment. Those are nice. Expensive though. That was it. That was the comment that triggered the "you're so controlling" response. I tried to explain that I wasn't judging her purchase, just pointing out that we had bills to pay. She'd shut down, said I was always criticizing her, always making her feel bad about spending her own money. So I pulled back. And now we were here. The first test came 3 days later. Rent was due. I transferred my half to the landlord. Just my half. She noticed immediately. You didn't cover the full rent. I paid my half. You need to pay yours. I'm a little short this month. How short? Like my half. I set down my phone and looked at her carefully. You're short your entire half of rent. She looked defensive. I had some unexpected expenses. I thought you'd cover it, and I'd pay you back next month. What unexpected expenses? I don't have to justify my spending to you. You're right, you don't. But I'm also not covering your rent. Her eyes widened. Are you serious right now? You're going to let us get evicted over this? We're not going to get evicted. You're going to figure out how to pay your half of rent. How am I supposed to do that? I don't have it. Sell something. Borrow from family. Pick up extra work. I don't know, but that's not my problem to solve. I watched her face cycle through shock, anger, and finally something that looked like panic. I can't believe you're doing this. I'm not doing anything. I'm paying my obligations. You need to pay yours. She grabbed her phone and left the room. I heard her on a call in the bedroom, her voice rising and falling. 20 minutes later, she emerged, her eyes red. My sister's lending me the money. Good. Good? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? Maybe that you're sorry for putting me in this position? I almost laughed. I'm not sorry for paying my share of rent and expecting you to do the same. If that puts you in a difficult position, maybe you should reconsider your spending priorities. There it is. The judgment. You can't help yourself. That's not judgment, that's observation. You spent $200 on shoes last month, $300 on a purse the month before, and I don't even know how much on dinners and drinks. But you don't have rent money. I'm building my career. I need to look professional. You can look professional without designer labels. You don't understand what it's like in my industry. You're right, I don't. But I understand basic math. If you can't afford rent, you can't afford luxury items. She turned away from me. I thought you loved me. And there it was. The emotional manipulation I'd been waiting for. I do love you. That's not the question here. If you loved me, you'd help me. I've helped you to the tune of nearly $5,000 in 8 months. I'm not helping anymore. Not because I don't love you, but because helping was called controlling. She was quiet for a long moment. This isn't how relationships work. Maybe not, but it's how ours is going to work from now on. She went to stay at her sister's that night. I sat alone in the apartment we'd built together and wondered if I was making a terrible mistake. But every time I questioned myself, I remembered that spreadsheet. Almost $5,000. And she hadn't even noticed. She came back 2 days later. We didn't talk about it. She paid her sister back over the next 2 weeks, apparently by taking on rush projects and selling some of her designer items online. I found out about the selling part because she made pointed comments about having to get rid of things she loved. I didn't take the bait. The next shared expense was groceries. We'd always done weekly shopping together, splitting the bill. This time, when we got to check out, I separated my items from hers. What are you doing? She asked. We're paying separately. That's ridiculous. We eat the same food. Some of it. But you're the one who buys the organic everything, the specialty cheeses, the expensive coffee beans. I'm fine with regular versions. So we'll each buy our own. The cashier looked uncomfortable. My girlfriend's face was red. This is humiliating. It's practical. She ended up putting half her items back, unable to afford everything she'd selected. I paid for my groceries and waited for her outside. In the car, she was silent until we were almost home. You've made your point. What point is that? That you think I'm irresponsible with money. I don't think you're irresponsible. I think you prioritize different things than I do. And that's fine. But I'm not funding those priorities anymore. We're supposed to be saving for a future together. This caught me off guard. What future? She looked at me like I was dense. Marriage. Kids. A house. The things couples save for. You want those things? Of course I do. Don't you? I pulled into our parking spot and turned off the car. I did. I do. But here's the thing I've been trying to figure out. How exactly do we save for a house when you can't cover your half of rent? How do we save for a wedding when you're buying $200 shoes? How do we afford kids when you can't budget for groceries? She was quiet. I thought we'd combine finances when we got married. Then it wouldn't matter. And there it was. The assumption that had been lurking underneath everything. So your plan was to keep spending however you wanted now. And then when we got married, my income would just cover your lifestyle? That's not how I'd put it. How would you put it? I'd say that married couples share everything. There's no yours and mine, just ours. Okay, let's say we did that. Let's say we got married tomorrow and combined our finances completely. How would you feel about a budget? She looked away. I knew it. You'd still want to control everything. A budget isn't control. It's a plan. It's saying we have X amount of money and we need to allocate it to different priorities. Housing, food, savings, retirement, entertainment, personal spending. We'd decide together how to split it up. And if I wanted to spend more on something than you thought we should, we'd discuss it. Compromise. That's what partners do. But ultimately, you'd want the final say because you make more money. I stared at her. Is that really what you think of me? She didn't answer. I got out of the car and grabbed my groceries. She followed me inside, but we didn't speak for the rest of the day. That night, lying in bed in the dark, she finally broke the silence. My parents divorced because of money. I rolled over to face her. You never told me that. My dad lost his job when I was 12. He got depressed, stopped looking for work. My mom had to support all of us on a teacher's salary. She grew to resent him. Every purchase became a fight. Every dollar was tracked. By the time he finally got another job, they hated each other. They divorced when I was 16. I'm sorry. That sounds awful. I swore I'd never let money come between me and someone I loved. I processed this for a moment. So you avoid thinking about money altogether? I know it's not healthy, but every time we talk about budgets or savings or any of it, I just feel this panic. Like if I care too much about money, I'll turn into my mom, bitter and resentful and counting every penny. Your mom wasn't bitter because she cared about money. She was bitter because she had to carry the financial weight of the whole family alone. She was quiet. Isn't that what I'm doing to you? The vulnerability in her voice broke something in me. I don't know. Maybe. But I didn't know why. I thought you just didn't care or didn't notice. I noticed. I just kept thinking if I ignored it, it would work itself out. And you kept covering for me. So I let you. I covered for you because I love you and I didn't want you to feel stressed. But then when I tried to talk about it, you called me controlling. I know. I'm sorry. I just heard my mom's voice in my head, criticizing my dad for every little thing. I'm not criticizing you for every little thing. I'm asking you to be a partner in managing our shared life. She turned toward me in the dark. What if I don't know how? Then we figure it out together. But that requires you to actually try. I don't want to lose you over this. I don't want to lose you either. But I also can't be in a relationship where I'm financially responsible for both of us and get called controlling when I point it out. She moved closer. What do we do? First, you need to decide if you actually want to address this or if you just want me to go back to covering your shortfalls quietly. I want to address it. I do. It's just hard. I know it's hard. Change is hard. But hard doesn't mean impossible. We talked until nearly 3 in the morning. Really talked, maybe for the first time in months. She told me about the shame she felt every time she came up short, how it reminded her of her dad's unemployment, how she'd cope by buying something nice to prove to herself she wasn't failing. I told her about watching my dad control my mom, about my fear of becoming that person, about how her calling me controlling had hit every one of those buttons. We didn't solve everything that night, but we started. The next morning, I showed her how to set up a proper budget. Not my budget imposed on her, but one we built together. We looked at both our incomes, all our expenses, and started making decisions. She was shocked when she saw her actual spending laid out in categories. I spent $800 at restaurants last month. You meet clients for coffee and lunches a lot. I thought it was maybe 300. It's hard to track if you're not looking. We talked about what expenses were truly necessary for her career versus what was lifestyle creep. She agreed to try a 1-month experiment. Stick to the budget we'd created, track everything, and see how it felt. If it felt like my dad controlling my mom, we'd reassess. But she had to actually give it a real try. The first week was rough. She had to say no to dinners with friends. She had to drink the regular coffee instead of the fancy stuff. She had to think before every purchase. I watched her struggle and resisted the urge to step in. This was her process, not mine. Week 2, something shifted. She came home excited, showing me that she'd come in under budget in 3 categories and had transferred the difference to savings. Look, I saved $147 this week. Her pride was genuine, and it made me smile. That's great. It's actually kind of fun, like a game. How much can I save? I didn't point out that this was literally what I'd been trying to tell her for months. I just let her discover it on her own. By week 3, she was the one suggesting we meal prep to save money. Week 4, she sold a major project and immediately divided the payment according to our budget instead of spending it impulsively. 50% to shared expenses and savings, 30% to her business fund, 20% to personal spending. She was beaming when she showed me. I actually have money left over at the end of the month. I've never had that before. How does it feel? Scary. Good. Weird. Like I'm actually in control of my life instead of just reacting to everything. I pulled her into a hug. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry it took me so long to get here. We both had things to work through. She pulled back to look at me. I need to pay you back. I told you that money's gone. I know what you said, but I can't move forward knowing I owe you almost $5,000. It'll hang over everything. Let me pay you back, even if it takes a year. I thought about it. Okay, but not because I need the money. Because you need to do it for yourself. She set up a payment plan. $100 a month, transferred to my personal account. It would take her 4 years to pay it all back. But that wasn't the point. The point was accountability, both to herself and to me. 3 months into our new system, something unexpected happened. She got angry at me for spending money. I'd bought a new gaming console, something I'd wanted for months and had budgeted for. She saw the charge and confronted me. $300 on a PlayStation? Really? I almost laughed at the irony. It's in my personal spending budget. We're trying to save for a house. We are saving for a house. We're putting away $2,000 a month toward that goal. This came out of my personal entertainment budget, which is separate. She frowned. It just seems like a lot. Remember your $200 shoes? Her face changed as she realized what she was doing. Oh my God. I'm doing it. I'm becoming my mom. No, you're not. You're learning to think about money as a household resource. That's healthy. But you're right that I get to spend my personal budget however I want, just like you get to spend yours. She sat down heavily. This is harder than I thought. What is? Caring about money without letting it consume everything. Finding the balance. It takes practice. You're doing great. Am I though? I just did exactly what I accused you of doing. The difference is you caught yourself. And we can talk about it. That's growth. She smiled a little. When did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just trying to be better than my dad. You are better. You're so much better. 6 months after the grocery store incident, we were in a completely different place. Not perfect, but functional. We had systems, we had communication, we had trust. She'd paid back $1,200, right on schedule. We'd saved $14,000 toward a house. And we'd learned to talk about money without it becoming a referendum on our relationship. One evening, she came home with an envelope. What's this? I asked. Open it. Inside was a check for $3,532. The remaining balance of what she owed me. How did you? I landed a huge contract. 6-month retainer with a major brand. And my first thought wasn't what can I buy? It was I can pay him back. You didn't have to pay it all at once. We had a plan. I know. But I wanted to. I wanted to start our next chapter without this debt hanging over us. Our next chapter? She got down on one knee, and my brain short-circuited. I know this is unconventional. I know usually the guy does this. But I've learned that relationships work best when both people show up fully, contribute equally, and communicate honestly. So I'm asking you, will you marry me and continue building a life together as actual partners? I pulled her up and kissed her. Yes. Obviously yes. We sat on the couch, her hand in mine, talking about the future. I want a prenup, she said suddenly. What? I want a prenup. I want it in writing that we maintain some financial independence even in marriage. That neither of us ever has absolute control over the other. That we're partners, not dependents. Okay. Okay. Just like that. Just like that. I think it's smart. She leaned her head on my shoulder. A year ago, if you'd suggested a prenup, I would have said you didn't trust me or love me enough. And now I understand that trust isn't about blind faith. It's about building systems that protect both people. We got married 8 months later. Small ceremony, modest budget, everything planned and paid for together. No debt, no drama, no resentment. Her parents came, though they hadn't spoken to each other in years outside of necessary coordination. I watched her mom pull her aside before the ceremony. I couldn't hear what they said, but I saw my bride wipe tears from her eyes and hug her mother tightly. Later, she told me what her mom had said. You found someone who respects you enough to let you struggle and grow instead of just rescuing you. Her mom had understood what I'd been trying to do, even when my girlfriend hadn't. Our honeymoon was a road trip, not an expensive resort. We'd chosen to put the money toward our house fund instead. But lying in a budget motel in the middle of nowhere, eating takeout, and planning our route for the next day, I'd never been happier. Do you ever miss it? She asked. Miss what? When I was irresponsible and you just fix everything. Wasn't that easier? Easier isn't better. But don't you wish I'd been better from the start? That you hadn't had to go through all that? I thought about it honestly. No, because then we wouldn't have learned how to actually be partners. We would have just fallen into traditional roles and maybe ended up like your parents or mine. That's very mature of you. I have my moments. She kissed me. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for not giving up on us. The house came 2 years later. We'd saved $50,000 for a down payment. Every dollar accounted for and celebrated. When we got the keys, we stood in the empty living room of our first house. We did this, she said. We did. Equal partners. Equal partners. She pulled out her phone and showed me something. A budgeting app, our shared account, our savings goals. All green, all on track. I never thought I'd be the kind of person who got excited about spreadsheets. Character development, I said. She laughed, and I realized that was the whole point. Not control, not submission, not winning or losing. Just two people growing together, learning together, building something real together. We're 5 years past that conversation at the dining table now. We have the house. We have savings. We're talking about kids. She runs a successful design firm. I got promoted twice. We still have a budget, still track expenses, still have conversations about priorities. But they're conversations, not fights. Partnerships, not power struggles. Last month, she came home upset because a friend had called her cheap for not wanting to split a $1,000 Vegas trip evenly when she wouldn't be drinking or gambling. She said I've changed, that I used to be fun. My wife told me. What did you say? I said she was right. I did change. I grew up. I smiled. How'd she take that? Not well. But that's okay. I'd rather have financial security than friends who only like me when I'm spending money I don't have. Look at you, setting boundaries. I learned from the best. Your therapist? She threw a pillow at me. You idiot. I learned from you. I don't know. I seem to remember learning a few things from you too. Like what? Like how to let someone struggle instead of always fixing things. Like how to trust the process. Like how sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone you love is refuse to enable them. She climbed into my lap. We're pretty good at this, aren't we? At what? Being partners. Being equals. Being grown-ups. We're okay at it. Just okay. We're still learning. We'll always be learning. That's the point. She kissed me softly. I love you. I love you too. Even though I called you controlling? Especially because you call me controlling. That doesn't make sense. Sure it does. If you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have pulled back. If I hadn't pulled back, you wouldn't have had to face your spending. If you hadn't faced it, you wouldn't have grown. If you hadn't grown, we wouldn't be here. So me being defensive and immature was actually good? It was necessary. Not good or bad, just necessary. She settled against my chest. You know what the weirdest part is? What? My friends who thought you were controlling back then? Half of them are now coming to me for financial advice. Asking how we save for a house. How we budget. How we make it work. What do you tell them? I tell them the truth. That it starts with both people showing up. That it requires uncomfortable conversations. That love isn't enough if you're not willing to grow. Heavy stuff. Real stuff. We sat there in comfortable silence. Outside, a car drove by, and I could hear kids playing in a neighbor's yard. Soon, that might be our kids. A thought that used to terrify me when I imagined it with someone who couldn't manage their own finances. But now it felt possible. More than possible. Inevitable. Hey, she said quietly. Hey, thank you for the spreadsheet. I laughed. Really? That's what you're thanking me for? That spreadsheet changed my life. It showed me the truth even when I didn't want to see it. It gave me no room for denial. It was just facts, pure and simple. You're welcome. Though I'm pretty sure you hated that spreadsheet at the time. I hated what it represented. I hated seeing proof of my irresponsibility. And now I have my own spreadsheets. Lots of them. Color-coded and everything. I've created a monster. She grinned. The best kind of monster. Her phone buzzed, and she glanced at it. It's my sister. She wants to know if we can lend her $5,000. I raised an eyebrow. What are you going to tell her? That we can't lend her money, but we can help her create a budget and payment plan to address whatever she needs the money for. She's going to love that. Probably not. But she'll thank me later. Will she though? Maybe not. But I'll know I helped her the right way, not the easy way. I kissed the top of her head. Look at you, breaking generational patterns. We're breaking them together. And that was the truth of it. Not my victory or hers. Ours. Built on spreadsheets and hard conversations and uncomfortable growth. Built on choosing partnership over comfort. Built on believing that the person you love is capable of more than they're currently showing. Even when they hate you for it. Especially when they hate you for it. Because real love isn't about making things easy. It's about making things real.